Up before the sun again, mountains wearing morning gray. Cup of black between my hands, another Sunday candy away. 9 years since I came down here, built a life from the ground up. Found my people, found my home, one story at a time, one cup. So pour it slow, let it breathe a while. The truth don't need to hurry. Every Sunday, mile by mile, we tell it straight. No worry, this is coffee time. We're alive, right here in the hills where the green never dies. Coffee time, watch it thrive. On many mornings we go live. We go live. Pesos up, pesos down. News don't wait for no one. Some weeks heavy, some weeks light. We show up either way, get it done. From the farms up in the hills to the streets down in the town. Every story's got a heartbeat. We don't talk it, we lay it down. Quintillo sunrise, mi gente, let's go. Coffee in the cup, but the truth is what we pour. 9 years deep, I ain't leaving, that's a fact. Peso falls, prices climb, but we adapt and adapt back. Every Sunday morning, same time, same place. Camera rolling, real talk, never fake. This ain't no script, this ain't no show for show. This the coffee access, truth, mi gente, here we go. We go live. We go live. Pour it slow, let the morning breathe. Armenia's calling. Coffee time. Live. Morning light through the window pane. Coffee steaming, no rush, no lane. World's been shouting all night long. I pour a cup, let the silence talk. I didn't leave angry, didn't storm the door. I just stepped sideways away from the roar. Pull up a chair, let the clock unwind. This isn't breaking news, it's breaking the grind. They sell fear by the hour, package rage by the pound. Every screen's got an opinion, every voice trying to sound like they know what's coming, like they've cracked the code. But the loudest ones panic when you step off the road. I've seen cycles repeat, watch them rise, watch them fall. Empires shouting forever right before they stall. So I sip and I watch, let the
speed, they want fire, they want sides, they want lines, they want heroes and villains every damn time. But life ain't a headline, ain't red versus blue. It's quiet decisions people never review. Yeah, yeah, they want me loud, want me mad, want me fast, want me swinging at ghosts from the digital past. But I've been here before, seen the scripts get reused. Same panic, new actors, same fear-based news. They don't hate lies, they hate silence. Hate when you pause and apply some guidance. Hate when you notice the patterns align. Hate when you don't need a side to the side. I'm not anti this, I'm not pro that, I'm pro thinking. Imagine that, I don't shout for clicks, I don't bleed for views, I don't rev my brain to the outrage machine, I refuse. I stepped off the treadmill, they called it escape, but it's hard to control someone who won't take the bait. You think freedom's loud? Nah, freedom's calm. It's knowing when to walk while the others all run. I'm not late to the party, I just left it early. Seen how it ends, same mess, same worries. This is coffee time live, where the noise burns out, where we sit with the facts till the truth shows up. No filters, no frenzy, no borrowed rage, just long view thinking in a short fuse age. Let down, slouch, or from the wild. So take a breath, let the cup cool down. The world will keep spinning without your sound. We'll be right here when the dust don't fly. Coffee on the table, morning in the sky. This is coffee time, live. No need to run. We'll talk again when the day's begun. Sunlight spills through the cafe door. Mic goes live like it's done before. 9 years deep in these mountain towns, we brew the truth, not just sit around. I came for a visit and stayed for the view.
the soul of this place. It just pulls you through. Mornings in Finlandia, nights in Salento. Life don't move fast, but man, it's full tempo. This ain't a pitch, it's real as it gets. From lost bags to love and bureaucratic regrets. No script here, just the sound of real lives told live every week under Colombian skies. It's coffee time lived from the heart of Quindio, where the screen fades out and the real stories flow from expats who landed and locals who guide. We laugh, we vent, we cry, we ride. It's not about views, it's about the vibe. Just raw conversation, live and alive.
Welcome back to the Grand Colombia channel. Welcome to another Coffee Time Live here in Quindío, Armenia, Colombia. Excuse me. Mike, good morning. Glad to see you here. Mr. B. Nick, as always, buen dia. Olga, how are you? And Tommy, good morning. Good morning. How are you? The usual crowd. Ginger tea and honey. We'll see how that works. Okay, so today I've got a main topic that's not going to be about cost of living. I'm just going to talk about the changes that we've gone through since, 2020, 2022, around there. For people that have contacted me in a bit of a panic because of the financial pressure. So I want to talk about that today and maybe give it a little perspective. And you're not crazy to recognize that things are making an impact. On the other hand, there's another way to look at this. So we'll get to that. Bob Sen, Colombia, how are you? And web designer? Oh, cute. Got it. Good morning. Yeah, okay. You caught me on that one. Why are you playing that music, before it starts? I get a notice that you're on, but you're not on. Well, everybody knows it's 11 a.m. And I do it because I prepare things and it's easier for me if I actually have it in a live category. So I go live, but I'm not ready to begin. And so I play the music. And the music is copyright free because I had Suno create it. I just say, hey, give me a song that talks about coffee time or whatever. And it gives me a couple choices, and so I play them because they're actually pretty good. There's some that I won't say they're my favorite songs. I mean, Suno is never going to be the Beatles, but there's some that are really good, really good. The best ones are when I actually would go to Claude and I would say, hey, Claude, because Claude knows all about the details of coffee time and my life and all kinds of stuff. So I say, hey, Claude, write me a song about coffee time. I can use maybe as a theme song or something. And that long one, the 6-minute one, that's written by Claude, and I take the lyrics to it and I put it into Suno, and then Suno creates the singing voice and all that. But Claude also gives me instructions. So it tells it, to use the guitar and to start at a moderate pace and then speed up the tempo through the song and then break into a basically a hard hitting rap sound and then mellow in the last verse, kind of return back to the original tempo. And that was all Claude. I didn't do that. Now, I play guitar, or at least I used to. I play at it these days. I played in a band once, but when I was young and we didn't realize how bad we sucked, it was half of you probably the same boat. And I used to write songs because I had a friend who was actually a very good musician, and I would write songs for him to play. And some weren't bad, but I think long ago I lost that skill, or at least the interest in it. So it's kind of cool watching Claude put all that together. So what does this have to do with coffee time? Well, I'm not talking about my illness, so you got to give me that. Um, I don't have much. Can you tell Suno if it's not live? Yeah, that's that. I played one this morning that you may not. I think it was it was the very first one that I actually had made up, created this morning. Suno created it, and Claude tried to get it to say live, and it did through the whole song. It says live until the very last sentence, and then it says live. I have no control over Suno doing that, and on the 6-minute one where it just coffee time live coffee time, one time it says it right. I tried maybe 12 times. Now it's free, but you only get so many tokens, and then you have to let them build up again. And over the course of days, I would have to build up the tokens, go back, try it again. And I would try all kinds of different things, spelling, explanation, and use alive and live and all kinds of things. I ask different AIs, how can I get Suno to say live instead of live? And I would get all these suggestions, and I would try those, and I just gave up. It's like, and I, it's funny you say that because a lot of people have pointed that out to me. And one, I'm glad you're listening, but two, I just gave up on it. I mean, I got other things to deal with in my life other than keep trying to get Suno to do what it should be doing. I mean, it's still AI, and AI is still dumb as a box of rocks. Okay, so news. I don't have a lot of news today because today is the election, and we'll talk about that a little bit because it will have some effect on the main topic. But I do have a couple things that I pulled out. First one. This popped up on my phone. I think it was in Facebook, but I got a notification, which was strange because I'm not subscribed to La Cronica, which is one of the newspapers here. National government will promote the arrival of new airlines to LA Den. And it didn't have much. It had 3 paragraphs of explanations that said almost nothing. It mentioned the meeting that they're having, the 4th annual meeting here in Condillo to promote the airport and like that. But it really has nothing to do with it because the real interest is what airlines are going to be coming in to replace Spirit. And there is no answer for that. However, they had a meeting, and there are 2 airlines that have already agreed pending their market report. They have to do a market report, and depending on how that comes out, they've made a pending agreement. So there's that, and I think LATAM is one of them. Let's hope so, because that's a pretty good airline. But the meeting was to talk about things in general that have to do with tourism and what they can do to promote related to the airport. But of course, with Spirit pulling out, most of the meeting was about that. And they did a couple, let's see, the Condillo government, the Armenia government, and Pro Colombia is a company, I guess. they've all decided to throw a whole bunch of money in. I forget what they put down an amount that I don't really understand because I don't think it's in dollars, but in pesos it didn't make sense. One was 50,000, another one was but maybe half that, and then Armenia was a quarter of that. So how much I don't really know. Can you tell Suno? Yeah, Copa used to provide service to Armenia. I think they still do, but the direct flight from the U.S. The thing with Copa was you had to go through Panama, and so it made it a longer flight. So I'm taking it from memory. I may have this wrong, but I think that's the way it was working. You can tell me if that's accurate or not. Um, so anyway, uh, interesting news. Nothing yet, really. Nothing, but at least they're putting a lot of effort into it and a lot of money. And all that money is to try to create financial incentives for airlines. So the money will be there in case they want um, some modification at the airport or if they want promotional work done or something like that. So they're ponying up money to entice airlines to come here. Okay, next. It's just a minute. Okay, so they interviewed. This is about a big increase in parking tickets. Used to have never had parking tickets in Armenia, but 35% of all traffic tickets in Armenia are now for illegal parking, and it's been going on since I would say last year is when they really started to put a push on. And it's probably a pretty good thing. But they interviewed a guy with, I think it was with Transito about this, and he said, "Well, yeah, we're stepping it up because we really got to clear this out. But we're getting the same old excuses. Oh, it's just a minute. I'm going to pick something up. Oh, I'm going to drop something off. I'm only going to be here a second." And he was kind of mocking people, but it was funny. I guess I guess you had to be there. You could read the article. I thought it was entertaining. And this last one, so we may be getting the squeeze at the moment financially. However, poverty in Armenia has fallen to its lowest level in years. Of course, thousands of families remain vulnerable. There's still, I think it's 16,000 people identified as extreme poverty. That's where they can't guarantee that they're going to have a meal a day kind of thing, like the extreme poverty. So, but it has massively improved. As a matter of fact, over the last 2 years, it's decreased by 7%. And that's pretty substantial because usually you only see this fluctuate like a percent or two. So it's pretty good. I got what is this here? It was announced this week that Delta would take the Spirit spots in Atlanta Airport. No big surprise. Would be nice if Delta would do more flight to Colombia. I don't know if it would be worth it. Now going to the Spirit flight that went to Medellin would probably be a popular flight and financially fulfilling. But here to Armenia, I don't know. We only get people flying into Armenia in any amount a few times a year. Although every time Rob came down, he said the flight was always full. So I don't really know. And I think they only had 3 flights a week here. So I'm not sure. I like I like Delta's direct flight to Cartagena. Yeah, Delta used to be a great airline. Now I don't know if they still are or not. I remember I made a ton of money off them If you remember 9/11, stocks just dropped through the floor, and Delta dropped down to, I think it was less than $1. And I flew Delta fairly often. That was back when I used to get around the country a lot. And I liked Delta, and I flew it definitely more often than anywhere else. I avoided JetBlue and American Airlines like the plague. And so I bought some Delta stock. I said, well, Delta, I can't imagine they're going to go out of business. It looked like it, and everybody was talking like that. But I bought some stock. And unfortunately, I sold it way too soon. I think it was maybe a year later, it had gone up over $10. And I go, that's a pretty good score, 10 times what I put into it. But I probably should have hung on to it for a few more years as it got up to a real decent amount. Okay, so that's, let me turn that off. That's all I got for the news headlines. So I'm going to go right to our main topic today. And if you're experiencing anything in particular about what we talk about today, feel free to write me, give me whatever information you have. Mike kind of saw this coming, and he's living in Panama now. He's watching today, and I think he's enjoying it there. But I'll preface what I'm going to talk about now as in we really do need to put it in perspective. And I'm watching some YouTube videos about Europeans getting into the United States for the World Cup. And there's these videos of them going into restaurants and things like that. And what really kind of jumped out at me is they would go to places that I was used to be familiar with, at least somewhat, and they would give prices for things that just took my breath away. It's like, oh my God. So whenever I think it's, maybe it's getting tight here, you look at that and say, the whole world is experiencing issues. So sitting around and crying about it isn't useful, but we should recognize certain things about what it is and where it comes from. Mr. Hutch, how are you doing? William, the good guy. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about a guy that I've decided to call Dave because he's not a real person. He's just a composite of notes over probably a dozen conversations I've had over the last few years in particular. But I'm sure that you're going to recognize Dave because Dave moved to Condillo in early 2020. And I had conversation with a few of those Daves. They did their homework and they checked on the exchange rate. They had questions about it, thinking it would always increase. And I always told them no, but they compared their Social Security check to the groceries and to rent and all that. And they figured this is going to work out for them. And they made the moves. Or Dave made the move. However, 3 months later, the world shut down, lockdown. We had quarantine. I mean, the streets were empty. And Dave, like me, wrote it out for about 6 months in his apartment. And he was able to save a little money because he wasn't going out anywhere. But he figured that everything was temporary, and it was. So then 2022 hits, and the peso did something none of us saw coming. We were all talking about it. All of Colombia expats were buzz with this. It went past 5,000 pesos to the dollar. Now, Dave's check, that same check that he had, really started hitting big every month. And so he went out more. He ate at the nicer places. He told all his friends back home, bragging to me, this is the best financial decision he ever made. Then he wasn't wrong. I mean, he just didn't know he was standing on a wave What goes up must come down. Because the exchange rate was giving him all these extra pesos, prices here were climbing too. Uh, at, at first, in 2022, when inflation hit a level Colombia hadn't seen in decades, Dave didn't feel it right away. The exchange rate was covering for it. You know, big check, rising prices, the math still worked out in his favor. As a matter of fact, I believe he told me at its peak, he pulled in over 8 million pesos for the month for his check, which I think it was around 1,600. But not only inflation hit after 2022, but the exchange rate started going down. Now, slowly at first, but over the next couple years, the peso got its strength back. Now, when the peso is strong, the exchange rate for us sucks. So understands that it's kind of inverse. What's good for us is bad for the peso, and vice versa. So Dave's check started landing a little bit less. I mean, it was, he dropped to 7 million and then 6 million. And at the same time, the cost of everything that he was buying just kept moving up, stayed high. And then just when you think it's not going to go any higher, it went higher. He renewed his lease at his apartment and got hit with an increase there. His grocery bill, practically doubled. And his dinners out almost evaporated. And when he did, it was just cheap places. So right now, Dave's in the same apartment with the same furniture, the same view, but the math for his finances, it's really squeezed him in two different ways at the same time. And his check buys roughly a third less pesos than it did at the peak. And those pesos buy less than they used to because prices have climbed somewhere around 45% since he got here. Now, he didn't do anything wrong. He planned around all the conditions that he could see. He did get a little carried away when the peso got up there, and he committed himself to some cost that he regretted later. But that was just, I guess you'd say it was optimistic. Nobody plans around a currency move that they can't predict, on top of inflation that didn't realize it would hit, or if it did, to the extent that it did. So here's what it is with Dave, and anybody listening who recognizes them. You're not failing. You've just got to adjust to two things moving at once instead of one thing. And that's the real problem. It's a solvable one, and it's not a verdict on your decision to come here. Okay. Bear with me a minute. Thought I was going to go into a hacking spree. Sorry about that. Okay. So anyway, back to Dave. Dave's going to be fine. And the exchange rate, I suggest that he stop chasing the exchange rate because it's not going to save him. And what he really needs to do is look at his budget like you would do at any point in your life where things aren't the best. And stop waiting for 2022 to come back. Now, I see this all the time, and I said it was a composite, and I hear it all the time. The exchange rate was 5,000. When's it going to return? When's it going to return? I don't know. I don't know if it will ever return or it may return. I actually did a quiz to find predictions, and the Bank of Colombia, the federal bank in Colombia, has made a prediction. As a matter of fact, Well, I'll tell you about it in a minute. So let's talk about the situation. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I apologize. I know it's hard to watch when that happens. So I'll see if I can get back on track here. Hello from Edgewater, Florida. Checking in for the tally. Thank you. Oh, the chat tally. I think I picked up two. Let's take a look. Wow. I got one more to go. One new chat and another video next week. So it looks like I'm going to make it this month. That's awesome. All right, let me try to get back on topic. Let's get my brain back working. Um, sometimes sometimes I think I should put it in front of me and memorize it. Anyway, the peso wasn't just stronger in 2022. It actually had a wild ride in 26 also. This year opened at 38.50 to the dollar. By late January, it had already dropped to 35.60. Then election uncertainty kicked in through April and May, and it slid back out to nearly 37.90. When there's uncertainty, when it looks like investments are more risky, that peso number goes up and the dollar improves for us. And with the election coming up for the May 31st, the previous one, there was some uncertainty, and you may remember it kind of improved a little bit. But then the results came in, and it was very clear that it's unlikely that the socialist is going to win. And the markets would not have liked that. And so when they see that El Tigre is by far the most likely to win today because he's like 12 or 15 points higher, then the peso has dropped back down to where it is now. I think it's 34.50, something like that right now, which is considerably low over these years that I'm talking about. On the other hand, remember that when I came here 9 years ago, it was about 2,700. So when you look at that, it looks pretty damn good. And you know how Facebook comes up with these past posts? Like if you put a post up and it'll say 5 years ago, you said this, do you want to repost it or not? So I get those every so often. And I got one from, I think it was 2019 or 2018. And it was a chart. And all I did was I posted the chart. And a peso was at a high of 30.40. And I posted the chart because that was awesome considering I was coming from 2,800 for it to go up over 3,000. Woohoo, you know? So right now, the Colombian peso is the best performing currency of any emerging market in the world this year. It's up about 9.5%. It's ahead of, in growth, of the Mexican peso, the Chilean peso. That one surprised me. Peruvian sol. And that's good news if you're Colombian. That means the economy is improving. And as I mentioned, poverty is down in Armenia. But if you're living here in dollars, it's the reason your check buys less. One of the reasons Mike moved to Panama is they're on the dollar. And even if the inflation hits, he feels he's got stability in the dollar. Now, I have to mention oil because this also has played a part in it. And if El Tigre wins today, this sounds, well, let me get to the prediction. I want to hold off on that for a minute. Colombia runs on oil exports. It's their biggest one. Now, when Petro came in, he tried to, he cut it way down. And when the country was climbing in inflation and ready to hit the wall, he had to reinstate a lot of these oil contracts. And so the number one seller for Colombia right now is oil. And when oil goes up, the government gets more dollars and the peso gets supported. And when the oil drops, the opposite happens. Now, what happened to the Brent crude market price back in May? It spiked to over $100, right? During Israel, Iran, all of that. And tankers were backed up at the Strait of Hormuz. So market prices, there was a real fear about supply. And Colombia is an international supplier. So they were making a windfall profit on this. They were cleaning up on this. Now, the U.S. and Iran maybe haven't reached a ceasefire, but a lot of things have changed. And I saw that they announced that the strait is closed, but I saw several independent accounts plus the U.S. government saying no, it's fully open, which isn't surprising because a lot of the stuff that was coming out of Iran the last couple months were pretty crazy. Anyway, um, so what's happened to oil recently? Well, it in the last month, it's dropped 23%. And currently, I looked this morning, it's at $77. So that's pretty significant. As a matter of fact, for the US to get down to $2 an hour, it's only got to drop another maybe $15, and you'll be back at $2 gas. And that $77 should weaken the peso. It hasn't yet because the election right now is still the bigger force because it has more to do with investments. But once today's vote is settled, oil becomes a thing to watch again. Colombia votes for the president today, El Tigre against Cepeda, and markets have already bet on that. That's how the peso is where it is. Most investors expect El Tigre to win, and a lot of money has already moved on that assumptions. Now, analysts are blunt about what that means. If he wins, the peso probably holds steady, excluding the oil effect, because the money has already been bet that he's going to win. So people are going to invest based on the socialists leaving and this guy coming in. That money, for the most part, has already been invested. That's how sure they are of this election. But if Cepeda somehow manages to win, that move could be sharp with the peso because all that money positioned the other way, you're going to see it bail out real quick. Now, the bank prediction that I mentioned earlier, they're predicting a range for the dollar after the vote from 35.50 as a probably floor to as high as 5,000. Well, don't get excited. I don't see how that possibly is going to happen because that would be if Cepeda won. So where are we? I got a couple slides here. Boom. So in 2020, the peso was sitting around 3,700, maybe around 3,800, somewhere around there. And then by late 2022, it went past 5,000. And today it's back down around 3,450. Three pretty significant changes if you've been living here through this. And then here I've got, while all that was happening, the inflation was also happening. Price didn't sit still. And Colombia just posted some of its worst inflation in decades back in 2022. And it's never really fully cooled off. I mean, this month, they're predicting that Colombia is going to have 3%, but the central bank already revised that, and now they're calling for 6.4, more than double. So that inflation amounted to about 45% over that time period. Yeah, let's see. And this is what I was saying that surprised me. Armenia isn't even tracking in the national number. Armenia's annual inflation right now is running at 6.59%. That's higher than Bogota, higher than Cali. So we're not just dealing with Colombia's inflation here, but we're also dealing with kind of a worse version of it. And rent's a big part of that. It's one of the categories moving fastest here. Uh, it's climbed to in the country. It's climbed to 5%, and landlords here want in on that increase. So, where in the past they would hold off on the annual increase that they could do, it's just like everybody's jumping on it. Why give that up? And rents here, while they've stabilized, they did go up over 10% this past year. So it was pretty significant. So where the country was at 5, here it was even a greater jump. The Bank de la República, the central bank expects inflation, as I mentioned earlier, to end around 6.4% for the year. And they're not projecting relief from this until sometime in 2027. And their projections historically aren't the best. Just like for this year, they said 3%, but we're higher. Now, that was as a direct result of that minimum wage increase that was just insane. And so everybody's kind of paying the price for that too. So today's vote can move it in one direction almost immediately. And after that, that's when the oil takes effect. And the Fed, who sets interest rates, also has some effect on it. So the honest answer is the peso could go either way before December. It probably won't move more than once or twice getting there. So in other words, if El Tigre wins today, we're likely to see a somewhat stable rate, not big improvements. There's nothing on the horizon. Anything can pop up, but there's nothing on the horizon right now to see it dropping really more than maybe a few pesos where it is. There's nothing to key in any kind of plummeting. So that's where we're at. And so yes, we had a period of time where we had windfall profits. But if you look around, look at Ecuador next door and what they've gone through, and they're on the dollar. And expats there, devastated might be too harsh of a way to put it, but it's been bad. And it's a world thing. I mean, I talked to a couple people in Europe. They've been hit hard with inflation. They don't have an exchange rate because they're living in their own country. But inflation is a killer. And for us, it has, I think, more to do with the uncertainty. But again, when I came here, 2,800. So I can look at 3,450 and say, yeah, I had a great ride, but I'm still better off than before I got here, and significantly so. So it sucks. On the other hand, you have to put it in perspective. Where will you go where it won't suck? It's simply an issue. The world kind of moved past us with prices. And if you're retired on Social Security, you're really sitting here with the same amount. And so no matter where you go, it's going to have some effect. Now, I haven't talked to Mike recently, and I probably should have called him before this, but to ask him, all right, you're there and it's $1 and all that, but how do you end up each month after you pay your rent, you pay for your groceries and all that? How do you stand? Is it much different? My guess is probably not a lot different. Um, on the other hand, he's living in a nice but kind of a small, I think it's a 1 bedroom little house. And when he was living here, he was living on this beautiful country hacienda with 3 or 4 bedrooms, and it was massive, and you had orange trees all over the place out there, and so it's having a financial shock doesn't mean you're in a bad situation. I believe me, I'm suffering as much as anybody. uh, it's not fun for me because I've always lived kind of on the edge, and when we've had the significant drop, I didn't expect it to go below 3,600, to be honest with you. Um, while it was dropping, I wasn't surprised when it got down, or even when it got to like 3,550. But when it got into the 3,400s this past week, that really surprised me. But, it's like Marv Levy for the Bills says, where would you rather be than right here and right now? Well, 2022 when the peso was 5,000, but yeah, it's just not going to happen. All right, what do we got here? Much of the inflation is a result of the increase in the minimum wage, right? Yep. Any possibility that the minimum wage may be reduced? No. I don't see that as even a remote possibility. You can't take your population now, even though most of the population realized it was a bad move. You can't take 25% of the population who's on minimum or below and give it to them and go 6 months and then take it away. Because the inflation's already here that it caused. And so you take it away, you're not setting it back to zero. You're going to kill them because all those prices went up accordingly because of the effect of that. And so it's tied together. You can't do that unless you want to have, massive revolts. Can cook better at home, so I'm sure the visitors are not happy with their experience. There's that. Newer people that have moved here without any of this history or understanding of how it goes, and expect it to be a certain way and just always go up, because some people say that. And, they probably got a rude awakening. But if you've been here for more than a few years, you kind of know how this goes and you ride the storm. Mike, it's a little more expensive here. It's a 2-bedroom with a nice fenced backyard. It's a really cute place. I thought it was 1 bedroom because you sent me some pictures and that's all you sent. So I just figured, well, it must be a 1 bedroom. Send me a little walk around. That would be interesting. I'd actually like to show people, because people ask about you and how you're doing, and I'm sure there's people curious about what's it like moving to Panama, and how are things. Yeah, it's a little more expensive. I'm not surprised about that. I kind of knew that before you went. On the other hand, the stability does have something to say for it. Let's see. You put that twice. All right, get that off. All right. Any comments, questions? Really sorry I was stumbling over my words pretty bad today. I mention this from time to time. I don't have a producer. I don't have someone to sit and do things. And sometimes you need to do those things, and they can distract you, and you might have to stop and actually concentrate. What should I do? Because you don't want to lose your feed and things like that. And when those moments hit, that's when you see me just kind of like go blank. And I'm not really going blank. I just stopped talking to you, and I'm kind of figuring out. It's like, oh, okay. I do this. All right. Now, where was I? And I realize it's awkward, but what can I do? Airslide, can you share with us all the reasons why Mike moved to Panama so we can better understand his motivation to leave Colombia? Maybe he could do that. Well, let's see, just wrote a comment here. Colombia is still my favorite. Colombia is awesome. I mean, people ask me in the conversations that kind of spurred this topic today, say, what's your backup plan? I'm living my backup plan. This is where I want to live. Remember, I was in Ecuador for 3 years, but I didn't move there because I wanted to. I moved there because I felt I had to. It's, if you know the story, you know. I don't really want to tell it now. But then I moved to Colombia, which is where I wanted to go anyway. And so it's been great. I love it here. I absolutely love it here. I don't love Colombia in general, just as a whole, because there's a lot of places in Colombia that I just don't care for. It's not like I hate it or anything, but I just don't care for a lot of the places in Colombia. But you'd say that about anywhere. There's places in the U.S. that I just never want to go to because I didn't care for them. But the coffee region here, it just fits so well. The only place in the world that probably fit me better was the years that I lived in Japan. I absolutely loved it. But the truth of it is, when after cancer and the recovery and all that, and I moved to South America, everything that I was going through, the financial situation I was in, take everything into account, it wasn't practical for me to go to Japan. Plus, they make it extremely difficult to get visas. And I don't blame them. That's why their country is pretty much the same today as it's always been. And so that really wasn't an option for me. And I've told you this before that, hold on here. My visa problem was the issue. Yeah, he was very upset about it. I have to leave Colombia to move to Ecuador next month. I'm sorry to hear that. That's a huge step down. If you're not there very long, I'm sure you're just like a tourist in any place, you'll be able to appreciate that aspect of it. Living there is a whole nother ball game. Mike isn't on Rumble. I don't see his chats. No, he's on another platform. I don't know why. I don't know why he's not. But I did get, Mike, by the way, thank you. I did get credit for your chat, which surprised me. I'm not sure that the strength of the COP is long term. I don't think it is. I just don't know when it's going to kind of change. And I think a lot of that change is going to happen not only with the oil, but the U.S. has a lot of financial things that will strengthen the dollar that have basically been pending, been put on the back shelf. And when those things start rolling, which most likely will be in 2027, when those things start rolling, I think that's when we're going to get another windfall here. In the meantime, we're having, this year we seem to be having more effect of what happens with Colombia. It's a shared thing. It's like things in the U.S. affect the exchange rate, things in Colombia. The things in the U.S. have been relatively flat. And so it hasn't really had much impact beyond, what it's had. But things in Colombia have been rapidly changing, and this election has a lot to do with it. A ton of money when Mr. El Tigre won the primary, not the primary, the first round, strong enough with the indication that it's almost unbelievable that he would lose it today. Ton of money flooded into Colombia because he's viewed from people with money that invest in things as being stabilizing for Colombia, as pushing back on the drug cartels and uh, pushing back on all the crime. And I mean, a lot of his running has been, like Bukele. It's like, I'm going to do something about the crime. We're not going to let people slide. They commit a crime, particularly if it would involve the cartels or these groups. It's prison time, which hasn't been happening. A lot of people have been getting a pass for things that have occurred. So that's that that attitude has put a lot of money and investments into Colombia. And then you pair that with what went on with the oil. Now the oil, it takes a little while to have effect, but because that's dropping and will probably continue to drop, it may be a little herky jerky, but it will continue to drop. Um, it's going to improve for us. How much, I don't know. The people in the area of Condillo were the very best. I vouch. That's why I'm here. I'm here because 20 some years ago, when I had to live in Pereira, Dos Quebradas actually, and worked in Pereira, I would come on the weekend. Once I discovered it, I would come every weekend, every holiday, every time I had my time to Condillo, in Armenia in particular, but various things in Condillo. I did all the tourist things. I made friends here. I would go and hang out with friends. It's what called to me when I decided I was going to go live somewhere else. And it's why this was my target. In your opinion, my Social Security should approximately be 2830. Holy crap. Looking for a mate? Should I buy after living and checking out where I want to live, thus savings the monthly rent? Or no, don't buy. When you first get here, have yourself an Airbnb lined up. And then once you in your Airbnb, daily go out and look or hire somebody, and combination of, go out and search in the neighborhood you want to live and find a place to rent and sign a contract for 1 year and rent in that area, that neighborhood, so that when you go to buy, you'll know exactly what you're getting into. That's the biggest problem, because once you buy, it's easy to find places to buy. It's not that easy to get your money back out of it quickly. It's real estate is good here, but you might have to wait a little while. And if you're trying to live here and you moved yourself into an area that has issues, that time every day can feel like a year. So don't rush it. Take your time to find. And if you're considering other towns or something like that, that's fine. Do the same thing. Get yourself in a main center like Armenia, for example, and then go visit the towns and stay. I've gone to Pihao because it intrigues me, and stayed there. I don't know, a number of times where I would stay over. So I don't just go for the day, which I do sometimes also, but I'll go and I'll stay over and spend a few days, and to really get an idea of what it's actually like day or night, what's going on here. And you can do that with anywhere, Circassia, all of these places that may be attractive, you can do that. For that kind of money, you could easily live in a hacienda like William lives. It's in a gated community, and these houses, they're all like mini mansions. I mean, they're just breathtakingly gorgeous, and the layout is fantastic. I mean, William would have monkeys come up on his patio and all kinds of different animals and birds and things, and it's like He was right in the middle of it. So, you can go into those places, but take your time to make that decision or you'll regret it. But maybe you won't, but you probably will. I traveled all over Colombia in November, December, and Armenia is where I decided to go back to. Um, yeah, it's having its, well, here's the thing. I know how it was. I know how it was 25 years ago. I know how it was 10 years ago, 12 years ago, the last 9 years. And so I see changes that go on, and I can't help but be an old man and reflect on how it once was and not appreciate many of the changes. And some of them are good, like the new traffic light system. Well, that's nothing but a plus. And, they're writing tickets for the illegal parking. Well, if you ever drove, that's a fantastic thing. On the other hand, it was nice living here where there really was no control over things except actual crime. And the funny thing is the more that they've kind of stepped up the things, the number of police and the things that they're carrying out for law enforcement, the more that we see that, the more crime there's been. Now, was it the chicken or the egg? Obviously, originally I felt, well, there's more crime, so they're stepping everything up. But as I look at it over a course of time, there's something going on, and I don't know what it is, and I'm not some conspiracy or something I simply don't understand. And there seems to be a correlation between the more they try to put into it, the more pushback there is. So I don't know. I don't know what that is. I will not live long enough for rent to add up to the cost of buying. Yeah, and I don't have the money to buy. I do have good credit here in Colombia, but unless this financial situation I'm in improves, they're not going to give me a loan for anything because I wouldn't be able to pay back beyond what I'm doing right now. I am kind of on the fence these days. It's not crime, I'm just sharing with you. His dueness abides. Ferme por la patria. An El Tigre fan. I will give him this. He's had fantastic AI generated campaign posts. As good as the California dude. You know who I mean. He's like the first in the United States to the extent that he was doing it. It was even though it's been proven now it was kind of cheated. All those extra votes that popped up, they've traced them, and they're all in the homeless district. So, anyway, that guy, Spencer, is that his first or last name? Whatever, that guy. The ones that I've been seeing here are every bit as good, if not better. And they started out like a little bit, and then it kind of snowballed, and they just got longer and much better, much improved. As a matter of fact, I saw one yesterday that shows Cepeda and El Tigre playing soccer. And it was like a mini movie. I think it was probably like 7-8 minutes long. It was awesome how Cepeda kept going over to the judge or referee or whatever they call him in soccer and whispering in his ear. And it was like, this evil, because there was some election shenanigans that supposedly took place. And then they go back and there would be a foul and they would tell Cepeda he's fine. There's no foul here. I'm not going to tell you the whole thing, but it was pretty awesome playing off the World Cup, of course. Yes, I watched those videos and they're awesome. Which? Oh, oh yeah. The ones I'm talking about. Spencer Pratt. No, not Newsom. Newsom has all the creativity of my big toenail. Yeah, Spencer Pratt. Yeah, that's the guy. Very entertaining. They would pop up on my YouTube. I do a dose of YouTube in the morning and sometimes in the evening, and so they would pop up and I would watch them, and it was hilarious. And then I'd start looking for them because they were just so well done. All right, we've run the course of the hour. For all those that are here, I really appreciate it. I get a small crowd every week, and I definitely appreciate it. And I will say, feel free to do the likes and the they don't call it subscribe. I think they call it follow. Whatever it is, all that stuff at the bottom there. It is definitely helpful. I used to say it didn't matter because with YouTube it didn't, but here it does matter. So thank you all, and let me take one last look. What's our score? Did we hit 20? Got all the unique chats in. So thank you all for that. I was sweating it because if this goes through, it'll keep the channel going because I've got so much pressure on me. I've had to cancel so many monthly things related to this that it's getting to the point where I don't know if I'll be able to continue it anyway. So if the Rumble thing works again and that money comes in, that will go back to paying for the cost of the channel. Don't forget a future crime analysis for why Mike left Colombia. Well, he mentioned it was all about the visa. Half of the visa problem was Mike, and the other half was Colombia. And so I think we've already talked about it. I don't know if he wants me to talk about, all of it, but it was a shame. I hated that he was leaving when he did because he was, I think, his last visa away from becoming a legal resident here, which would have changed his visa thing altogether. It would go automatically 5 years. It's just a whole different ballgame. And if he left without finishing that, then it would be a break in the time that he put into it, 4 years. And that if he did come back, he was starting from ground zero and he'd have to go back another 5 years again with the pensioner visa. And that was the thing I was most worried for him about, to lose that time and grade. But I don't know. Life is what it is, and I'm sure it'll work out. All right. I guess that's it. We will. I will see you next week. I'll probably see some of you this week. I have to do one more video in between. I did a video that I actually enjoyed doing. It was an hour long. It was on the Sane in Colombia channel, and it was about mainly one, but several episodes related to it of my time in Asia, in Japan mostly, and some things that happened that I went through that were, I think, very interesting, and where I'd forgotten all about them, and I was hunting for some documents, and I stumbled on something that it reminded me, and so I did a video on that from when I was in the Marine Corps. So I think it was interesting to me because I was enjoying the memory. Now, I don't know if anybody else would enjoy it or not, but I really enjoyed doing it. But I do have to do one more before the next coffee time, or before or after, before the month is over. So anyway, thank you again for being here. Thank you all for helping push the chats to where I need it to be. I very much appreciate that. And I will see you, well, this week, next Sunday at the latest. And fingers crossed for the election.
Okay.